Okechukwu J. Oguizu, and he'll be speaking on the topic gendered perspective of work-life balance. Dr. Okechukwu is a chief clinical psychologist, lecturer and head of clinical psychology department at Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Barnawa, Kaduna, where he managed patients with psychiatric conditions, treatment, and rehabilitation of substance dependence and problems, and other psychological disorder, including treatment of developmental disorder and intellectual disabilities in Therapeutic Daycare Center of Child and Adolescent World through psychotherapy derived from scientific theories, techniques, and principles, and may other psychological services since 2008 and present. He is an enthusiastic, self-motivated, strong team player, computer literate, excellent communication skill, experienced clinical psychologist with many years of working experience in psychological services and interventions, substance abuse and dependence treatment, management, and mental health. Oguizu graduated from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, with second-class honors in psychology, Master of Science degree in clinical psychology with grade point average of 4.28 on a 5-point scale, and Doctor of Philosophy degree in clinical psychology with specialization in substance abuse and dependence of the same university. He is a visiting lecturer in the Department of Psychology, Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, Nigerian Defense Academy, and also a lecturer in the School of Post-Basic Psychiatric Nursing School of the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Barnawa, Kaduna, where he lectured the post-basic psychiatric nursing students. He also gives lecture, seminars, and training of psychiatric resident doctors and consultant psychiatrists on psychometrics and psychotherapy and other psychology-related courses since 2008 and present. Thank you, Mr. Okechukwu. Thank you, Dr. Okechukwu, for joining us. I hope I called the name right. Thank you for joining us.
Okechukwu Oguizu.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes, the floor is yours.
Okay.
Can you hear us, sir? Can you hear me? Doctor, are you still on?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I must start by appreciating Safia Iba Agalba, the founder and the program director of Empowering Women for Excellence Initiative, for making me part of this, your program, to be a speaker and to speak on the topic which titled Gender Perspective for Work-Life Balance. As a matter of fact, looking at the present situation we find ourselves, so many issues are being played out, especially among men and women in relation to work-life balance. And looking at this, I will have this outline for this presentation. I hope you can hear me. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you, but we would appreciate it if you'd on your video so we can see you too.
I can't even have access to it.
Okay, that will be made available shortly.
Yes, I can have access to it so that, okay.
Okay.
My outline goes this way: introduction, work-life balance, gender perspective on work-life balance, women work-life balance and stress, understanding work balance in relation to stress. What are the common signs and symptoms of problematic stress that may cause work-life imbalance? Causes of stress as found in work-life imbalance in women. How does stress affect a woman's health? Ways women can better manage their stress in achieving work-life balance. And then I would conclusion. The term work-life balance was first coined in 1986 to the conscious choices that many Americans were becoming in advance of the workplace, as they choose to ignore family, friends, and leisure activities in the quest of a business goals. During the early 90s and 70s, employers believed work-life balance mainly an issue for working mothers who grappled with the requirement of their jobs and nurturing children. Men began expressing work-life concern during the 80s. By the end of 80s, work-life balance was more than just women's issue, affecting men, families, organizations, and cultures. It is accomplished when an individual's right to a satisfied life inside and outside paid job is accepted and respected as the norm to the mutual benefit of the individual, business, and the society. Work-life type have been studied in US since the 80s and in Europe, primarily the UK since the early 70s, and also equally in Nigeria. So it's not only other in North America, in Europe, it has been found, such studies has been conducted in Nigeria, and has things to tell us about. Capitalists have been increasing towards the concept of work-life balance as a result of the need of attracting and retaining competitive employees in dynamic labor markets. Work-life balance involves the incidence of fulfillment in all areas of person's life and necessities, including value and supply of loyalty. Achieving a right equilibrium between work and life is the test for all employees, particularly working parents. Because this issue is very, very important in the sense that any man or woman that is really working, there is need for individual to balance the work and equally balance their other aspects of life apart from work. And that is why equilibrium is very, very important. And a situation this thing is not accomplished tend to result one or two issues, which we're going to discuss in the course of this presentation. Work-life balance constitutes a challenge because where employees are unable to achieve their desired work-life balance, their welfare as well as national development is reduced. I hope you can hear me. Hello? Hello?
Can hear you, sir. You can also on your video so we can see you too.
Yes, I have talked about, I can't even access to it. I've been trying to on it. It's not, okay. Yes, I can, yes. Can you hear, see, you can see me now, isn't it?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm coming.
Yes, sir, you can go on.
Yes, I'm coming. Yes, a work-life balance dilemma is quite like across countries and cultures, and there are various actions and options developed to deal with it. Work-life balance is a notion that involves appropriate appropriatization Like you can actually see work is about a search for daily meaning and as well as daily bread, for recognition as well as cash, for astonishment rather than dupe. In short, for the sort of life rather than Monday through Friday. So work is very, very important, and we have reasons why we should work. But in the course of this work, there is need for us to observe these important issues we are talking about today. Balancing work and family demands a struggle that almost all employees deals with on a daily basis, consequently incurring high level of stress-related issues. Job stress play a major role in creating various types of work-related conflict for employees, being one of the largest problems in Europe, union work environment and world generally. That is why it is very important. You see, in the course of this, we've talked about the aspect of equilibrium, whereby you have a good balance between your work life and the other aspects of one's life, like the family and other things you are doing. And most times when this work balance is not achieved, stress is always inculcated. And it has actually implicated that what results to work imbalance is as a result of stress. And in the course of this presentation, we're going to deal more on the aspect of this stress and how it affects one's work life and resulting to work imbalance. Nevertheless, employees with less conflict or more coping skills to deal with stressors or demands between the work and the family life apply positive behaviors from their personal life on the work life. That is to say, stress is implicated in work-life imbalance, and ability to cope with or deal with work stress and other life stressors, or ability to balance work and the family guarantees what a work-life balance. By definition, work-life balance involves the minimization of work-related stress. You can see that, yes, ability to be able to cope or minimize stresses that are incurred as a result of work is very, very important in this aspect in order to achieve a work-life balance. And the establishing of stable or sustainable way to work while maintaining health and general well-being is very, very important. The World at Work 2008 defined work-life balance as a specific set of organizational practices, policies, programs, plus philosophy, which actively support efforts to help employees achieve success both at work and at home. This thing is very, very important because every organization, every workplace must have organizational practices, norms, the do's and don'ts, policies that are likely to be favorable to the entire work, especially the workers and the entire organization. All these things must be geared towards achieving work-related balance. So a situation whereby you don't have all this, at the end of the day, may result to this work-related stress. And at the end of the day, will incur the work-life imbalance we talked about. Work-life balance means you are equally fulfilled by the duality of your personal life and your professional life. Yes, we are not meant to work all for 24 hours. There's time for work and there's time for other personal life, other issues concerning our lives. All these issues must be balanced. A situation there's imbalance in them results to problem. It also means one facet does not dominate the other, and that when it comes time to switch gears, one feels energized by what's in stock for that particular day. Gender perspective of work. Recent changes in the workforce composition further contributes to the concept of work-life balance. As more women enjoy workforce and dual income families becomes more common, both men and women face the need to balance between family and work. According to Oguizu in 2014, study conducted in Nigeria revealed that both genders indicated they had work-life imbalance, implicating work-related stress. Now, this takes us to understand this work life in relation to this work life and women in relation to stress. The essence why I emphasize on this because this program centers more on women, but it doesn't apply to women alone. It affects both genders. Let us start by trying to explain what stress is all about. According to psychologists and other health professionals, stress is defined as the non-specific response of the body to any demand placed on it. It goes to say that it is a process by which events or situation threatens or challenge an organism's well-being, by which the organism responds to the what? Stress. This is attributed to Lazarus and Foucault in 2004. What we are trying to say is that when there is more pressure, when certain things affect the state of health of the mind, it places individual in a situation whereby it is not specific, and this makes the body to react outside its normal state. And according to the psychologists, as we talked about, this is what they explain as stress. Stress is a normal or can cause all significant problems. Stress affects everyone. It is always present and to some degree unavoidable. Stress can be caused by both positive and negative life events. Stress and physical health are equally related. Reducing stress requires personal responsibility to reduce this stress and of other issues. Situations that are capable of causing stress reactions are called stressors. Just like in a place of work, there may be one or two things that may be affecting an individual that may result to stress. Some of these things can be called stressors. It may be workload, it may be fatigue, it may be one or two issues regarding the work, or it may be individual interaction with other family members outside work or other issues. They are stressors, both at work and at the family. An ability to manage or to cope or to deal with these stressors helps us to achieve a work-balanced life. Stressors may be external or internal to the organism or to individual, representing possible harm or loss, or they may be symbols of threat or other psychological representation of danger. The kinds of dangerous stressors posed vary and their relative magnitudes are different, but they all evoke some kind of response from the organism. The response may be cognitive, emotional, behavioral, physiological, or combination of all these. What I mean by cognitive means individual will continually be thinking about these threats, these stressors that disturbs the individual most of the time. Then emotional, and because the individual interprets the situation as threatening, the individual will tend to be angry most times, sad, feeling of worthlessness and all those stuff. It affects the person's emotion. It affects the person's feeling most of the time. The person gets angry, gets irritable, and that can make individual emotional. Behavioral in the sense that the way the person interacts with other people, people will begin to discover that this person is becoming aggressive. Unlike this individual, he's becoming irritable. He's getting angry most of the time. Unlike the individual, all these are signs that one is under stressor and is being seen as a behavioral thing. Physiological, it can affect the function of the body. Some individual can develop physical conditions like asthma, cardiovascular problems, high blood pressure, stroke, and stuff like that. It can affect the normal function of the body. And as I talked about, it can be a combination of cognitive, emotional, behavioral, and physiological conditions, all exhibited in the context of what? Stress. Stress is particularly common among career women at workplace and also housewives at home or business women at their places of business. Work and family are the two important aspects of life of a working woman or a housewife or businesswoman, and they continue to juggle traditional responsibilities after hours. Psychologists and sociologists describe them as struggling to achieve the male standard at work while trying to maintain the perfect wife and mother standard at home. This thing is what is happening to among our women, because especially our working women, after days activities at work and stuff like that, they're expected to go home to manage the standard, to prepare home, make food on the table, take care of the children, take care of the entire family and all those things. And when a woman finds it difficult to balance the situation at work and in the house, you see that the woman may break down with situations that may result to other psychological problems as a result of exposure to stress or inability to cope with stresses at work and at the family level. Poor balance between work and family can be a major stressor for women and have a negative impact on psychological, emotional, social, and physical well-being of the person. A personal wellness plan with built-in period of recovery and self-care can help women manage stress and empower them to make healthy life changes. Stress is our body's response to daily events that occur in our lives. Everyone experiences stress. Stress can be positive, as talked about, and motivate a woman to achieve a notable goals. But stress can also be negative and destructive, taking its toll in many life areas. When stress becomes chronic or excessive, it becomes harder to adapt and cope. Chronic stress builds up so that stress seems like a normal way of life for some women. Oftentimes, women are so busy that they do not take time to slow down long enough to think about how stress negatively affecting them. This is very, very important because women are always caring. Women are always taking care of their home and everything. And in the course of trying to do this, they will bring out all their efforts in order to have all this. Hello.
Yes,
I hope
sorry,
you can
Mr.
hear me.
Okechukwu. Yes, we can hear you. Sorry for the
interruption. There was a network bridge. Yes, I'm back now. All right. So as I talked about, most women are always conscious of taking care of their family members, even at work and all those stuff, at their own expense. Most times they forget about themselves. Forget about taking care of themselves. And at the end of the day, the situation becomes worse and they find it difficult to come out of it. At this point in time, we're going to talk about what are the common signs and symptoms of problematic stress that may cause a work-life imbalance. Some of these factors can include cognitive symptoms. What do I mean by cognitive symptoms? This includes memory problem. Most times, when a woman or a man starts discovering that they find it difficult to remember some things or experiencing forgetfulness, it may be a sign of stress, and this thing must be looked into. Most times, they are likely to have memory problems or forgetfulness, inability to concentrate even at work, or even other areas of life. Poor judgment. You will see the way they reason, the way they critically reason, the way they think about some issues will tell you is not proper because of the stress they are going through. Seeing only the negative aspect of life, thinking negative, anxious or racing thoughts, constant worry can make individuals take wrong decisions. And when we start observing all these things, it's an indication that a woman or a man is going through stressful experiences, which we call cognitive symptoms of stress. Another aspect includes emotional symptoms. This has to do with our feelings, our moods. Most people, especially women, because natural women are emotional. They tend to be emotional, and this makes them moody. And in the course of it, you see them being sad most of the time because of the stress they're going through. There's tendency that they may be irritable or have hot temper, you understand? Agitation may be there, inability to relax are likely to be found.
Hello, sir.
Yes? Hello?
We can't see your slide. We can't see your slide.
Oh, has it gone out? Hey.
Yes, we can't see your slide.
Wow. I'm coming, please. Wow, this is giving a problem now. Okay. Can you see the slide now? Can you see the slides now? Hello? Can you see the slides? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can see it.
Yes, you can see the slides now.
Yes, sir.
So can I proceed?
Yes, you can, sir.
All right. So as I talked about, there's individual may have a sense of loneliness and isolation, and most times you see them crying, weeping spells. These are emotional symptoms of emotional symptoms a woman may experience as a result of exposure to stress. The person may have depression, general issue of unhappiness. Anxiety may result, whereby you see them having palpitation, difficulty in breathing, tense muscles, and increase in cardiac output or pulse rate. All these are symptoms of anxiety, and as a result of stress. The person may have anger issues, feeling of being out of control, and frustration may set in. All these are emotional symptoms of stress. Then physical symptoms of stress includes itches and pain, most commonly at the back, and you may have something like diarrhea, constipation, nausea, being sick, dizziness, chest pain, rapid heartbeat, frequent cold, and difficulty in what? Sleeping. Some of these things are some of the symptoms of depression, especially when you look at the the criteria for diagnosis for depression. And some of them can be seen as physical symptoms as a result of exposure to stress or person's inability to cope with stressors. It continues by saying loss of signs of physical symptoms of stress too. Tiredness can be there, overeating, or sometimes you see somebody not eating well, having poor appetite and stuff like that. Skin problem, lack of energy. The person may be tense muscles, will not have energy to do anything, upset stomach, and sometimes, most times you see people engaging on drugs and alcohol use. You can look at most people are going through a lot of stress, both at work, at home, and other areas of life. Some people see it as a way of taking drugs, as a way of getting out of it. And that is why if you look at every person that do drugs, they have reason for doing drugs. And most reason why they are doing drugs is because stress causes discomfort. And most things, they think that it's only when they take substances that they can be able to cope with their stresses. But it wasn't the situation. And that is why using this medium to talk to people that doing drugs, seeing drugs as a way of coping with stress is not the way to deal with it. Rather, it wasn't the situation. There are many ways to deal with stress rather than use of substances. Eating more or less. Okay, now we just finished the physical symptoms. Now, we talk about behavioral symptoms. In behavioral symptoms, there's likelihood to see individual eating too much or less, sleeping too much or little, isolating self from others. Most times you see them procrastinating or neglecting responsibilities, avoiding when your issue that comes to engaging in activities that they used to see themselves, you see them avoiding those things because of the stress they are going through. As I talked about the use of alcohol, cigarettes, and drugs, some people may like to use it as a way of relaxing. These are behavioral tendencies or behavioral symptoms that stress. You can see an individual being counted for as a behavioral symptom. Occupational symptoms like workload, work overload. Somebody can be overwhelmed. If you look at the slides there, you can see how a woman is overwhelmed by the workload. So many things to think about concerning work. Not only that, you think about home, the children, and other aspects of life. All these things are as a result of workload and impinges on the aspect of individual's life. And at the end of the day, causes individual to break down as a result of stress. Long hours at work can equally is another symptoms one can actually observe that may be responsible for why the individual is having work imbalance. Tense relations, poor concentration, and unfulfilled job. All these factors are very important factors we consider as occupational symptoms. Other symptoms include social symptoms like less intimacy, like husband and wife, because of stress at work or in the stress at home or in the family, it may cause less intimacy, like between husband and wife, isolation, family problem, loneliness. All these are social symptoms. Then you talk about spiritual symptoms like apathy, loss of meaning of life. Somebody may start thinking, if God exists, why am I going through all this stress? Is there no way God can actually intervene? And that can make individuals have negative perception about life, about his or her own belief and stuff like that. Emptiness, forgiving. And then you may start doubting, having guilt and stuff like that. All these things can be considered social and spiritual symptoms related to stress. That's life imbalance. Causes of stress can be found in women imbalance deck. There are many causes of stress. Men and women share many of these sources of stress. Something like money matters, job security, health, sex, relation, and other issues can be factors that can cause a woman or a man to start having stressful experiences, as we discussed, as emotional stress, cognitive stress, physical stress, occupational stress, and the stuff like that. Perhaps a little more unique to women are more roles on. In today's society, women's role often include family obligations, caregiving for children and elderly parents, and the statistics have shown that women are more to that, work responsibilities as well as other roles. As demands increases to fulfill these roles, women feel overwhelmed with time pressure and obligations. They may feel a sense of failure in not being able to fulfill these expectations for themselves and others. Sometimes women spend time meeting others rather than nurturing their own needs. As I talked about in other slide concerning how a woman starts neglecting herself because of exposure to stress or inability to cope with stressors. If functioning at a high stress level, women may not recognize some of their needs because of exposure to high stress level. How does stress affect a woman's health? Long-term exposure to stress can lead to serious health problems. One, it can increase blood pressure, suppresses the immune system. Like, yes, our body, the more we're exposed to stress, the more it affects our immune system. Our immune system is what protects the body from germs, from microorganisms. That is why most times we complain sometimes irregular menses, abdominal problems, other issues, or most times we complain of malaria. Because once the body is exposed to high stress level, it weakens the immune system and makes the body porous. And once the body is porous, it creates microorganisms to infect the body. And that's why individuals start breaking down with illnesses. And that's why you will see there's high incidence of a suppression of the immune system. Increased risk of heart attack and stroke, as I talked about, because as the more the individual finds it difficult to cope with stress or high stress level, it increases some physical conditions, that cardiovascular problems like high blood pressure, cardiac attack, stroke, paralysis. These are as a result of exposure to what? To stress. It can equally, a long-term exposure to stress can actually contribute to woman infertility. And that is why it's very, very important to look at this and to take it serious. It can also speed up the aging process. And all these things are not good for human. Long-time stress can even rewire the brain, leaving you more vulnerable to anxiety and depression. Just like I talked about, more exposure to stress can predispose individuals to psychological problems like anxiety disorder and depression we've talked about. As I said, cardiovascular disorders or problem. Frequent stress response of our body increases molecules potentially dangerous to optimal health. These are low density lipoproteins, the bad cholesterol, and other lipotypes that such as triglycerides. Because all these factors, stress can cause increase in all these substances and can result to cardiovascular problems. Because stress delay the processing and clearance of fats. Their accumulation puts people at risk of developing atherosclerosis and other parts of the body. So all these things is an indication to tell us high stress level or individuals' inability to cope with stress can result to cardiovascular disorders or problems. Substance use, as I talked earlier, It is evidence that people who live in chronically stress condition are more likely to take up smoking, alcohol, and other substance use as a way of trying to cope with this stress. And it is substance can never be a solution. So that I've talked about, stress is known to worsen many immune-related conditions, including diabetes, as we talked about. And the research has shown that, yes, it can predispose one to what? Diabetes. It also can result to cortisol produces during stress situation may supply body's immune response, increasing susceptibility to infectious disease. For instance, worsening progression. As I talked about, all these are actually can show because high production of stress, high stress level can result to production of cortisol, which can actually predispose someone to other physical conditions. Asthma is not left out. In asthmatic patients, stressful situation can make overreactive and precipitate attack because of exposure to stress. Stress can equally cause ulcer and digestive disorder too. Migraine headache and back headache, all these are illnesses that can result to exposure to high stress level. Cancer and neurologic genetic disorders too. A path-breaking research conducted in early this thing shows that stress induces reduction in T lymphocytes, white blood cells that destroyed the cancer cells, leading to increase in metastasis now. So what this thing is just trying to say that, yes, when stress level is high or individual inability to cope with stress, it weakens the immune system. And once the immune system weakens, it can predispose individuals to other physical conditions, including psychological problems. A later study on women suffering from breast reestablished the previous findings and confirmed fast that stress cause lowest. It can equally result to pregnancy issues. Women with high stress level have difficulty time becoming pregnant than women having a low stress level. Equally, menstruational pain too, or problems. Menstrual syndrome is more severe in women who goes through stress, and stress worsens crisis during menopause. Now we have talked about all this. Another issue now is how can this stress issue be managed? And it goes by this topic, ways women can manage their stress in achieving work life. It's not only for women, it is equally applied to what? To men. Examine your negative stress signs in each of these 6 areas I'm going to talk about. The physical condition, the emotional, mental, occupational, and spiritual level. The physical here now is exercise, practice realization. These are ways we can actually help, we can actually deal or cope with stress or manage our stress at work, in our family life, in other aspects of our existence. Practice realization techniques like yoga, eating healthy, schedule leisure, and have enough sleep. Emotionally, express your emotions. Repeat positive emotions like self-esteem, have a positive outlook, realistic thinking, resilient talk. In terms of mental, one really need to be think positive. Positive view of life, think good about yourself, think good about others, and think good about tomorrow. These are positive view of life, positive way of enhancing one positive life and dealing with our stressors. Find your meaning or purpose, focus on gratitude concerning individual's life. Occupational, establish doable goals, identify homework balance. Then we'll talk about social, strive to maintain loving relationship with one another in your place of work, at home, with relatives, with your neighbor. Ability to socialize is another important aspect, especially having good time with your loved ones, with people around you that encourages you in one or two ways. Then on the spiritual level, we talk about find meaning or purpose, focus on gratitude and the present situation in life. A personal wellness plan with goal is equally encouraged. Goal setting can seem overwhelming. These practical steps can help get started. Review your life areas. Look at your areas of life where you feel you're not doing well and stuff like that. Pause a while and think about this. Examine the 6 life areas of potential change, as I've talked about. Then identify one's goal, be aware of what needs to be done and set goal. Be specific, know what you want to accomplish. Set measurable targets, move in the right direction, be realistic, set small goals that are achievable. Identify resources in which these goals can be achieved. Use helpful resources to reduce potential problems and stuff like that. Set time limits, consider readable specific time, evaluate progress. This progress is, even though you have talked about this, the ones you have done, you try to evaluate how far you have done. What and what haven't you done? Which areas of your life need to be done? All these things can be seen in the concept of evaluating progress or appraising the situation so far achieved. Make changes where needed. Other areas we can talk about include reflect on the sources of your stress. Like somebody may take time to look at what are the areas I normally find I find stressful. Just since I have outlined some of these stressful areas, someone can pause and identify some of these stress areas. And once it's addressed, can help individual to further ahead. Then face changes, accept change as a challenge and opportunity. Focus on the present, stay in the present. It does not help to worry a lot about the situation. And then listen to your mind, examine beliefs and how they influence your life. Integrate love, work and play. Practice acceptance. Accept what you can change and what you cannot change. If you can't change the situation, you understand, make effort about them. Accept and care for yourself like you help. This seeking help is very, very important, especially when I talked about chronic stress. Chronic stress is the aspect that one cannot be able to manage. In such situation, you consult a counselor, consult a clinical psychologist like us, consult mental health professionals who can actually help you in such situation. Because as a clinical psychologist, when you consult them, they can make out ways or measures that you can acquire that can help you to cope with this your stress level, which involves psychotherapy and counseling. And there is need for you to actually seek for their help, because it's, at the end of the day, it's going to help you in dealing with the stress one individual is going through. None of these are so good that, yes, reflect on aspects of your life and be grateful. Look for a time to exercise. Exercise is very, very important. We can actually engage in. Eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. Drink a lot of water. Practice assertive communication. What I mean by assertive communication is most people are in the habit of bottling their emotions. Most people are in the habit of not sharing their problems with someone. Although we know in the society you will find yourself, you feel that if you share your problem, people will use it against you. But it's advisable to meet professionals who have ethics, who maintain the aspect of confidentiality for you to express your feelings, opinions, because when your opinions and beliefs are expressed, your counselor will understand where the problem is and be able to help you. But when you don't talk about it, bottling the problem worsens the situation and it will not help to solve the issue. That is why it's very, very important to practice assertiveness. Communicate to your counselors, communicate with clinical psychologists, communicate with mental health professionals who can help you to deal with problem caused by stress and help you to manage with this stress. Do not allow yourself to dwell on the negative. That is why it's very, very important. Stress brings negativity. Work-life imbalance brings negativity. And we must learn the ability to negativity, because one of the ways concerning our health, our social life will help us to achieve a help people who are always negative and always worsen situation for you, because you need to interact with people who makes you happy, brings good things about yourself, makes you feel good about life, And all these things are ways of encouraging you to deal with your stressors. And finally, smile, because you need it. Smile is very, very important. Try as much as possible to be happy. Little you have, be contented with what you have. Make every effort to make yourself happy. Don't allow situation to make you sad. Every situation you find yourself, try to see the positive view of that situation and make it work for you. Conclusion. The most important person, the most important product is your life. And the way you do it will help you to make you or mar you. That is why we encourage you to help to understand yourself and be able to deal with stress that may predispose you to work-life imbalance. And when the stress is actually dealt with, and at the end of the day, you will see that both man and a woman, every working class will have ability to achieve work-life balance. Thank you. Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
Thank you so much, sir.
I am done.
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir. Thank you so much. This session was so relaxing. I was relieved from so much stress and all of that. I really enjoyed the session. It was soothing. It was wonderful. And I know our participants are also enjoying the session. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know we have questions, so don't forget to send in your questions to the question and answer session and the chat box. Don't forget. Ask your questions, and you get answers. Okay, we have a question from Ahmad Zakari.
Okay.
He said, does environmental crowding cause stress?
Yes. Can I go further to answer that?
Yes, you can, sir.
Yes, environmental crowding can actually result to stress because every individual have different coping skills in dealing with stress. Environmental crowding is something that makes you discomfort because if you look at the definition I gave as stress is a non-specific reaction done on the body or a demand made on the body. The body works at a normal level, but when there's a demand or pressure, the body starts reacting. And environmental crowding can bring a discomfort. And when it brings a discomfort, the individual starts feeling distressed, irritable, sometimes can be anxious. And when this condition continues, it makes life unbearable. So in such situation, one needs to deal with the environment, either working out of the environment that causes, because this time around is an external factor, which is environmental crowding. Either you work out of it to get refreshed or ventilate the environment or make the environment conducive for the individual. When these things are not done, at the end of the day, it will create a discomfort. It will create stress on the individual. And when it creates stress on the individual, you will start seeing the individual exhibiting these symptoms I talked about, the emotional symptoms, the physical symptoms, the social symptoms, and all the rest we talked about. You start seeing it manifesting. So there is need to deal with external crowding, which is external stressor.
Okay, thank you. We have another question from Dauda. Okay, he's asking for the slides. He's asking if he can get the slides, that they will be very useful to him. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Let me. Okay. Yeah. Can you see the slides now? Can he see the slides now? Hello?
Yes, we can see the slide.
Yes.
So what he's asking for is the slides, like how he can have the slide, soft copy of the slide. So
Okay,
if you
maybe
give your permission for us to share the slides with them.
okay, maybe at the end of this presentation, eh?
Okay.
All right.
We have another question from Jalilat. She's asking, where can one go to seek for help when dealing with depression or anxiety?
Yes, that's a very important question. We have many places to deal with it. We have many psychological services centers where you have mental health professional works, like psychiatric hospitals, some psychiatric hospitals where you have department of psychological services where this situation can be dealt with. In general hospitals, we have department of psychology or clinical psychology department or psychiatry where these issues can actually be managed. Sometimes in primary health centers, we have mental health professionals like clinical psychologists, whereby individual can actually look at the nearest primary health centers and be able to assess these psychological services we can render regarding this situation. So there are many places you can actually see. And as another way again is, I belong to Nigerian Association of Clinical Psychologists. I equally belong to Nigerian Association of Nigerian Psychological Association. I'm equally a member of American Psychological Association and other associations. Through these organizations or associations, we can reach to them because from there you can have addresses of all the mental health professionals like clinical psychologists, whereby anybody is in need can be reached out to. And another important thing is most of these associations will have addresses where all of us stays. And when you link to them, they can help you to get access to some of these areas and the individual can be helped to deal with one or two issues they are going through.
Okay, great. Isaac is asking, is there any means for individuals to measure stress or indicate stressors?
Yes, there are many ways we have assessment instruments we can use to assess stress, assess the level of stress. You understand? Like, let me give, for instance, there are some physical things we can use to assess because, in the course of my presentation, I talked about cortisol. Cortisol is good for our body and it is produced when one is stressed. It's always required during emergency. It prepares the body to address stress. But our concern is when this stress level is high, it produces high level of cortisol. And when cortisol is in the body, it's not good for us. When high level of cortisol is in the body, it's not good for us and need to be managed. There are instruments that we can use to measure the level of cortisol to know stress level and all the rest. And there are psychological assessment instruments you can actually use to assess one's stress level. And when you assess them, it will help you to know the level of the stress and then the management that is appropriate for the management of such stress identified.
Nice. We have another question. What advice do you give to someone who finds comfort in constantly getting work done, even when the person feels stress on the long run?
Yes, if you look at when somebody is constantly working, and even though he feels stressed, it's advisable to take time to relax. There is need for you to balance your work life and your other aspect of the life. If you dedicate more time to a particular thing, the other aspect of the life suffers it. Take, for instance, you have maybe 8 hours to work, and after work, after that 8 hours you have spent at work, you are back home, you continue working instead of you to attend to other issues. You will see at the end of the day, family issues or other circumstances will suffer. And at the end of the day, it will cause more problems to individual. And the individual over time may likely be predisposed to all the symptoms I talked about, physical symptoms like cardiovascular problems, other symptoms you are likely to, because the individual constantly exposing himself or herself to stressors without having enough coping skills to deal with those stressors. And as a result, over time, the person may break down. So I advise the person to manage his stress. Meet a counselor to advise you, to help you to have more coping skills to deal with your stressors. Outside that, the person may break down.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have another question from Ahmad. He's asking, Why are people living in villages having less stress?
There are many factors to that. One thing about it may be your state of mind, your perception about yourself, about your circumstances, and about tomorrow. Some individual may be rich, have all it takes, but they don't have rest of mind. They because of what they are going through. Hello.
Yes,
because
sir.
of what,
yes.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say now is somebody may be in the village, but may be contented with the little he or she has. Have good perception about himself, about others and tomorrow, and feel comfortable. Unlike somebody may have all those things, but don't have peace of mind, don't have rest of mind, has perception in so many negative perception towards other things. This can affect one's state of mind and can result to more stress you are talking about.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So our participants, if you have other questions, ensure that you go to the WUVA app, ask your questions, and you can also connect with the speaker on the WUVA app. Don't forget to connect with the speaker on the WUVA app and ask your questions, and you get answers to your question. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for this session. It was wonderful and interesting. Oh, we have another question from Jalila.
Okay.
A celebrity once said, oh, we have another question, sir.
Okay, all right.
Yes, a celebrity once said the best way to deal with depression is by not believing it is real. Is this realistic?
Depression is realistic, is real. And when you don't believe, it's good for you to understand what you're going through, because depression comes with negative belief about self, about others and tomorrow. And it has other symptoms that goes with it. But in the course of going through depression, the person may not perceive all these things, may not see it in reality as things that are real. And when you go through therapy, sections with a clinical psychologist, for instance, you will be able to understand all this and be able to apply these skills. And at the end of the day, you see the individual will overcome those things. So depression in a way may make one to see it from different perspectives. But going through sections, going through therapies, you see that the individual can overcome it and see the reality and see those things that causes depression. Because in the course of managing a depressive patient, there is need for the counselor or the therapist to intimate the patient what depression is all about, what causes it, what can result to that. When somebody has acquired good knowledge of it, it will help individual to even to help himself or herself, because having good knowledge of what is going on with you, it will help you to know how you manage yourself. So it is very, very important in situations like this that depression may make you to see things in different perspectives, but after through management, going through sessions, it makes you to see the reality of life, which is the best of it all.
Nice, thank you. I believe our questions have been answered. And indeed, the best way to know that you have balance, your personal and your work life, is fulfillment. And also you are the most important product of yourself. Exactly. Don't forget that. And thank you so much to our communications team. Thank you to our support team. Thank you to every participant following us on the WUVA, on Zoom, and on Facebook. We appreciate everybody. And to everybody that is working tirelessly to see that this conference is a success. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir, for having this beautiful session. We enjoyed it. And our session for tomorrow is going to, yes, sir. Our session tomorrow begins at 11 a.m. Please don't forget to take the poll, but before the poll, we would love to have a group photo with you, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm ready.
Can we turn on our cameras so that we have the group photo? Okay, sir, can you stop sharing your screen?
Okay, I will stop, eh?
Yes.
Okay.
So it will enable us to take the photo.
All right.
Yes.
I hope it's okay now.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. So our participants, don't forget to join our session tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be very interesting, I promise you. Don't forget to join in early. It starts by 11 a.m. Don't forget to respond to the poll as your feedbacks are important to us. The poll is up already.